I'm Stephen Plata. I'm the club manager for Tesla Owners Club New York State. We are official partner of the Tesla Owners Club program. Been around for about 2 years, officially established. Have 11 regions total all across New York State, from Buffalo, Adirondacks, Albany, Long Island, New York City, 11 regions, whole state. Recently, I think we're just a little under 1,400 members statewide, and growing every day, which is, it's great to see. So this is, as William said, if you were here towards the beginning, William said this is a pilot towards a new owners workshop. This is designed, and I'll kind of go into this a little bit later, but this is designed specifically for those who are, who have a reservation, or they're, even thinking about getting a Tesla, or they got it, but they haven't had the time to just, pretty much go through everything. So this is a great way to introduce new owners to their cars, or soon to be owners to their Teslas. William won't exactly be tag teaming this one with me, but I think we talked about it before. If there's anything that William wants to add, or that I might have missed, William, feel free to just hop right in and let me know. I did as much planning as I could, so I think we'll be in good hands, hopefully. So,
Stephen, I am confident in your abilities.
That makes one of us. It's very good. All right. So as we're going through this, if you can, I'll go ahead and ask you to mute your microphones now. It just helps in case there's any background noise or anything that could distract us. If you could go ahead and do that. So as I mentioned, Stephen Plata, joined by William. William, just for anyone else who joined, would you mind just a quick introduction of yourself?
Sure. Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is William Masterson. I am the senior program manager for a number of community programs at Tesla. My main project is the Owners Club program, of which New York State is one of 156 clubs across the world. We have about 125,000 members globally in 25 countries. Thank you all for jumping on and being a part of this workshop today. This is the first in a series that we're going to be doing with clubs across North America, specifically really targeting the United States and Canada right now. International is going to be a little more difficult because of language. But this workshop is something that we've been really wanting to do for a long time, and invite the clubs in to join us with presenting this type of content. It is envisioned for people who are new to Tesla, like you just took delivery yesterday, you did a no-touch delivery, you didn't get questions answered because we're in the middle of a pandemic, or maybe you're thinking about placing an order or something like that. We're going to be inviting people who are customers, who aren't customers, all to be able to join these types of things. So this is going to be a really good getting started, the most basic things that you would need to know about your Tesla. Most of you on this call who may have already been in your car for a couple of weeks, you probably are going to know all of these things. But some things are a good refresher course, and this is a good opportunity to ask questions. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you for being interested in our Owners Club program.
All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this thing going. All right. So should be able to see my screen. William, if you can, if you could, I guess if you can keep your microphone unmuted and just, like I said, just hop in. But if you could see my screen, maybe a thumbs up or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Perfect. All right. I kind of gave an introduction already as far as what this program is designed around, or the pilot for this new owners workshop. But as we mentioned, this is the ABCs of Tesla ownership. And the ABCs are autopilot, basic operations, and charging. As I mentioned, this is specifically designed for those who are, have their Tesla on reservation. They, just picked it up. They're going to pick it up tomorrow. This is meant to just give them a solid basic understanding of these three main components that really make a Tesla, what it is and why it's so special. So we're going to start off with autopilot, and this is something that kind of came to my mind, and maybe it's a little odd to phrase it this way, but I see autopilot as a mother with many children, right? So we'll kind of get into what I mean by that. But autopilot is comprised of the hardware that makes it, the software, the computer chips, and the constant updates and autonomy or the semi-autonomy that makes it what it is. So there are like I said, a couple pieces of the hardware to Autopilot. There are a total of 8 cameras around the car. There's 3 in the front, and my way of kind of explaining this is similar to if you have one of the new iPhones or any phone that typically has 3 cameras. There's one that's meant for shooting out far, one that's meant for shooting a little closer, and one that's a wide angle. Similar to an iPhone or any smartphone with 3 cameras, that's what you see at the front of a Tesla. There's 3 cameras, each meant for unique purposes. There's 1 camera at the back under the trunk, and there are technically 2 on the sides. There are side repeaters, which aim backwards, and then there are the B-pillar cameras, which aim forward. So I'll go ahead and do a little bit of reading off of the slides, William. I think that's all right. And then I'll kind of add some pieces as we go along, if that works for you. So Autopilot is an advanced safety and convenience feature that are designed to assist you with the most burdensome parts of driving. Autopilot introduces new features and improves existing functionality to make your Tesla safer and more capable over time. And like I said, I'll kind of add some pieces on here. So I'm actually taking a drive out to Rochester tomorrow morning from Albany, New York. It's a long drive. It's about 3.5 hours of driving. Autopilot is an absolute lifesaver. I think that the perfect word is burdensome parts of driving. You're on the highway, you're on there for 2.5, 3 hours. Autopilot is something you really want to have on to just alleviate some of the stress of just driving, especially the monotonous stress of driving. And as I mentioned, there's multiple components to Autopilot, and I'll kind of go into those, but Autopilot also enables your car to steer. It's not just a smart cruise control. There are other components to it as well. And very important to note that Autopilot doesn't make your vehicle autonomous, at least not yet. And we'll get into that in a few slides. So important to know, while you're engaged into Autopilot or any of the features of Autopilot, you are still required to always be attentive of everything that's ever going on. Oh, there's one thing I didn't mention, and I want to add it in right now. As I mentioned, there's the ABCs of this workshop. After each section, I'm going to stop, pause, go through a couple questions from the chat box. And then if you want to unmute your mic and ask any questions, you're welcome to do that once we get to the end of the A's for Autopilot. Oh, did I skip a slide? Hold on, sorry. There's a little delayed reaction on my screen. Oh boy. Give me one.
No, I think you're good.
Oh geez, I do not know what is going on. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. It was a little delayed reaction on my screen. So, as I mentioned, there's a couple components to Autopilot, or to the mother of it all. You have traffic-aware cruise control, and what traffic-aware cruise control is going to do is keep you a safe distance between you and the car in front of you. Meant for your highway driving. You still want to be in control of the vehicle. This is where the Autosteer, and we'll get to that next. But there's no Autosteer enabled. This is strictly just as a smart cruise control, if you will. Just meant to keep you a safe distance between you and the car in front of you, and you can manually adjust and change the speed of traffic-aware cruise control. And then on top of traffic-aware cruise control, a next level would be Autosteer. This is going to keep you between the lines. This is specifically meant more for the highway, but this is something that you can use on, I guess, just normal roads, as long as there are solid lines to keep you in there. So standard safety features, these are these active safety features, and technology will include avoidance and automatic emergency braking. And well, William, there's one thing I suppose I want to talk to you about that I have a question on. And if you could just provide a little bit more detail between automatic emergency braking and front collision warning. I have have it over here on the slide, but just if you could give a little bit more detail about those. If you could hear me.
So the difference is automatic emergency braking means that the car is going to stop. Front collision warning is the beep, 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 beep that it gives you before it has to do the emergency braking. So front collision warning generally, like, I don't know how many of you drive around in your Teslas, and the car in front of you will slam on its brakes, and then all of a sudden your car just starts beeping because it's detected something happening, and you're like, no, I have plenty of room here. That is the front collision warning. That's letting you know that something is happening out there. So the automatic emergency braking is the car is stopping, or the front collision warning is the car letting you know that it's probably going to be stopping, or that there is something that's going on.
Gotcha.
So that's
okay. So the front collision warning is more so the aspect of giving you the heads up that something is about to occur or may occur, compared to just the actual emergency braking, which is the action of it happening. Okay, I always get confused. They go hand in hand. So
yeah, it's you can't really have one without the other.
Gotcha. And then the last one on here is the auto high beams, and I believe this is specifically talking about the what's it called, the brights, your brights. And this is something that is really helpful too, just as far as if you're driving down the road, you have your high beams on. These will automatically turn on and off depending on if there's another car coming in the other direction. That way you don't blind them unnecessarily. So using Autopilot, on your car, we do not have a gear selector, at least until Tesla comes out with maybe a car with multiple gears, but not yet. So we have drive stalks. And this is what you would use to put your car into drive, reverse, neutral. But this is also how you activate your traffic aware cruise control and your auto steer. So this is on the right side of the steering wheel. So to engage your traffic aware cruise control in either the Model 3 or the Model Y, you set your cruise control or your cruising speed by moving the gear lever fully down and then releasing when driving at your desired speed. So if you're cruising at 70 miles an hour, pull down all the way, and you've engaged traffic aware cruise control. There is a little piece that I'll add to this, if that's all right, William. One of the things I found out that I would assume most Tesla owners who've had their cars for a few months or at least a year, you actually don't need to pull down all the way. You'll realize that there's that first click before you go all the way down to the bottom. If you stop at that first click, that's also how you can engage traffic aware cruise control or auto steer. Just a little not an Easter egg, but something just helpful to know. So that's your traffic aware cruise control. Now to enable auto steer, or what a lot of us kind of think of as autopilot, it's pretty much the same thing, but you're pulling down twice. So before you can operate auto steer, you have to enable it by going into the settings. So going to control, autopilot, and then enable auto steer. It is a beta. So think we are good on that part. Now, very important here too as well, to cancel out or to abort out of either auto steer or traffic aware cruise control, you can either lightly tap the brake pedal. You don't have to push all the way down, or else you'll end up braking really hard. But a light tap on the brake pedal, you'll hear the boop boop or the boop 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 boop. Sorry, the opposite of engaging. There's a sound for that it turns on and a sound that it turns off with. But yeah, lightly tapping the brake pedal will take it out. You could also push up on the gear, not the gear stalk. Sorry, the stalk, the drive stalk. Or you can use the steering wheel to, if you take it out of, if you apply enough torque, you'll notice that it will take it out of auto steer. But one thing you have to be super careful of, and this catches me off guard a couple times, is even though you've taken it out of auto steer by moving the steering wheel, it will still have traffic aware cruise control enabled. So if you set your speed to 70 miles an hour, it will still be engaged in traffic aware cruise control and want to travel at 70 miles an hour. So be very aware. Pretty much if you're going to cancel out of either of these, I just recommend use the brake pedal or use the drive stalk by pushing up. It won't put the car into reverse. You don't have to worry about that. All right, let's see. I believe I pressed the, sorry, I think there's some issue where it's taking a little while to get to the next slide. See, I think we're good there. All right, so now in the family of Autopilot, there is full self-driving. This is a package that you can opt in for. This is not something that comes with the car. So all brand new Teslas today come with Autopilot, and as an option, you can add the full self-driving package. So some of the components of full self-driving that are at least available today, it's Navigate on Autopilot. And what Navigate on Autopilot is going to do, once you're on the highway, you are able to enable this just like you would by pushing down on the gear stalk, pushing down twice, or the drive stalk, sorry. And that will enable Autopilot. And you'll have a little section on your screen right under your directions where it will say Navigate on Autopilot. If it's bright blue, that means it's enabled. If it's gray, that means you didn't put it, it's not enabled. What this is going to do, so what is Navigate on Autopilot? Well, it's going to go around cars that are slower in front of you. So say there's 3, 4 lanes, even I believe 2 lanes too, would still do it. But if there's a car in front of you that's going slower, let's say the speed limit's 65 miles an hour and the guy in front of you is going 40 for some reason, they're really taking their day, they're enjoying their day off. Your car will put on its blinker and go around the car, pass them in the passing lane, and then get back in front of them when it's safe to do so. This is something where you don't have to do anything. There's no confirmation. Sometimes it will say, I think it wants you to put a little torque on the wheel, but you don't actually have to enable this. This is just the car saying, the driver in front of me is going too slow. I'm going to go ahead and pass them and proceed to do that. You could also, while you're on the highway, if you wanted to, you could even just use the turn signal and indicate which way you want to turn, and that will also go in the correct lane. So next is Smart Summon on the right over here. So Smart Summon enables you to pull your car out of just about anywhere and come directly to you. This is something that any Tesla today that has, I think it's at least hardware 2.5 or newer with the full self-driving package, or at least the enhanced Autopilot, has this option on it. So this is great if it's raining outside, you're at the mall, you have a bunch of bags. If you're at the supermarket, this is I don't use it too often, but it is pretty cool to have. So yeah, once again, just you have it parked in a spot and you go on your phone and you can summon it to you from a parking spot or just about anywhere else. So now on the bottom, there is some of what is in the works as of right now. And a lot of you know about the full self-driving beta. William was talking about there's at least around 30 or so beta testers today that have the full self-driving package, or the full self-driving beta pilot, I guess, however you want to phrase it. And similar to how we have things today, you would just type in your directions, or press the button, speak where you want to go, and this will take you to any location. I recommend you check out, I believe his last name is Stringer, John Stringer from Tesla Owners Club, Silicon Valley. You have Kim Piquette, who is in Rhode Island. Earl Banning, I believe his name, Earl of Frunk Puppy on Twitter. There's a couple owners out there who have full self-driving, and they post clips just about every single day of updates. So something to look out for. Note that this is not widely available, but this is in the works and probably won't be too long till we see it as a mass rollout. I'll go ahead and pause here before we move into basic operations. So let me go ahead and stop share. Once again, if you want to unmute your mic, you're welcome to do so. I'll try to go through the chat if I can. Oh yeah, if you didn't see William's message, feel free to take screenshots as we're going through here to review later. If you have any questions, you could kind of refer to that. Okay, so Stephanie asked, what is an example of high beams requirement? Stephanie, I think if I'm understanding the question correctly, this is, well, nighttime, afternoon, your Tesla will automatically realize, hey, it's dark out. I'm gonna use these high beams for added safety. So you would enable that just by pushing I think it's the left. I always forget the left, by pushing it in the drive stalk, pushing it in, or the turn signal stalk, and that is going to enable your high beams. So the pretty much auto high beams, or however you want to refer to it, will automatically change based on if a car is coming towards you or if there's no one there. Just once again, you don't want to have your high beams on if there's another car coming at you. It could be very distracting, could be very dangerous. This is just a great way to increase your safety and the safety of others.
Right. I guess what I was just trying to understand the verbiage that was used in the on the screenshot there. It says enables or disables high beams as required. I would assume that I would be the one to decide whether they're on, that the car would not.
Correct. Well, so if you put the high beams on, if you put it into just the high beams, it will automatically change based on like I said, if there's another car coming towards you, it will turn them off automatically. But you do enable them by pushing the lever in.
So first. the auto part is just turning them off.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Just wanted to be sure.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'd just like to add, if I can, that it has to be enabled in your settings. So if you don't want it on at all when you turn on your high beams, you would turn it off on the settings. Like there's an actual setting for it.
Okay. Jay says you should note that the drive stalk actuation of traffic radar cruise control is for yes, correct. So this I didn't mention this in the beginning. I should have. Sorry. This presentation is specifically for Model 3 and Model Y owners, but most of this does transfer over into the S and the X as well. But there are a couple things like the basic interface, the drive stalks, that a couple differences. I'll try to go through a couple more of these questions. There, yep, William responded. Perhaps we could record those sounds. That'd be a good idea, Paul. I think that's a great idea. As far as the sounds of Autopilot, not the best impersonator, but yeah, yeah.
Real quick on that note, I did post a link in chat for the Meet Your Tesla videos. So inside of those videos, it'll show how all sorts of the different things that we're going over today work. So there is a section for Autopilot. It will let you hear what the sounds are like. If you want to build, for those who are club leaders on here that are checking this out and seeing how we're doing the presentation, if you want to reference those for talking about Autopilot, feel free to do so. So these are all tools at your disposal.
Lydia asks, does regular AP, not EAP, offer automatic lane change? Lydia, if you mean on the highway with like navigate on Autopilot, it won't automatically go into the other lanes. It won't do that on its own. I don't believe, and I'm like 90% sure now, William, I guess you could add in, or if anyone else knows, I believe if you only have the basic Autopilot system, you could not use your turn signal to change into another lane. That's correct, right?
Correct.
So you can
on a
use
model, correct.
Oh, sorry,
on
go
a
ahead,
model,
Mitch.
Yeah, it's correct on a Model 3 and on a Model Y. If you have an older, something like an S or an X, it's older, before the Autopilot kind of got split apart in route to full self-driving, then it does exist. But Model 3s and Model Ys, you only have the lane change and the turn signal option as part of Navigate on Autopilot. And the other thing that I will mention as well is there is a switch on your control panel to where you can either have the car require confirmation before it passes with Navigate on Autopilot, or it can do it automatically on its own. But you do have that switch to so that you're in control of whether or not you're going to say, yeah, go ahead and pass or not.
Gotcha. Thanks, Mitch. Heather asked, what is the minimum speed the car will stop with auto emergency braking? I don't want to speak incorrectly on this. From what I remember, Autopilot won't engage under 15 miles an hour. I could be wrong on that. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe if you have your Autopilot enabled or traffic aware cruise controlled, it will be at 15. I'm pretty sure it's 15 miles an hour. I don't know if anyone else has more specifics on that. I want to say it's 15. 15? Okay.
15 is correct.
Okay. Paul asks, what is the difference between high beams on the stalk and auto high beams on the touchscreen? Do both need to be set for auto high beams to work? I think as Viviana mentioned, there are settings to enable the auto high beams. But one of the things you'll notice with Teslas, it reminds me of kind of how NASA does things. There are so many, can't think of the word right now, but redundancies. That was the exact word. There's so many redundancies built into Tesla. And we'll see that once we get to some of the basic operations, to some of the charging. But I believe if there is the section to enable the auto high beams on, is that in the cards? I think it is on the bottom left. Is that where it is for the auto high beams enabling? I can't remember off the top of my head. I just have mine automatically enabled, sorry. But yeah, I think Paul, Viviana mentioned that before as far as enabling them, and then redundancy.
No,
like
it's under lights. It's under lights.
Oh, the fog lights? Okay.
Oh, yeah. All the lights are there.
Okay.
There's no lights on the cards.
Yeah, in the lights section of the touchscreen, there's a auto high beams button, and that you can turn off and on, but then the stock has that separate push it forward and it lights up on the binnacle display saying that it's enabled.
Yeah, it has to have a white A indicated on the light to indicate that it's enabled.
Okay. I believe I'm almost caught up. Okay, Kim asked, can some of the features of AP be turned off or on? For example, can you turn off collision detection? I believe there are definitely a ton of settings within the Autopilot. Once you go into the driver settings, we'll kind of talk about this in the next section. We won't go through all of the settings, but I believe you can enable. There's definitely one. I think it's the forward collision. It's not the forward collision warning. I can't remember the name of it, but if you were to slam on the accelerator and there's something right in front of you, obstacle aware, is it obstacle obstacle aware detection or something like that. I can't remember the exact title. But there are a ton of settings that you could toggle on or off in the autopilot section.
And in the forward collision warning, and we'll get to it, but you do have the ability to set how sensitive it is as well. So it's either on or off, but I don't even know that you actually can turn it off, but you do have the ability to control how sensitive it is going to be so that you're not overreacting to it until you're used to it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. I believe we are caught up. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the basic operations. Let me just make sure I could share my screen here again. And once again, if you have any questions, I'll do what we did before, which is just wait till the end of the basic operations and then hop back in. All right. Should be able to see everything. Okay. So on to basic operations, mostly looking at the inside of the vehicle. So I think the best way to do this is if you want to look at the image on the left, I'll point out the numbers and you could kind of see where they are over there. So number 1 is the door open button. And William and I were just talking about this. I believe all new Model 3s and Ys are actually using, it's not the solid line, but it's actually a little image cutout of the car and then one of the doors open, if I remember correctly, is what they're using now. 2 is high beams, turn signals, wipers, and washers. As we mentioned, if you want to enable your high beams, if you pull it towards you, if you pull the I guess not a drive stalk, but just the stalk, if you pull it towards you, that won't enable it constantly on. That's just for, a quick flash if you need to see something ahead of you for a second. But if you push it away from you, that will enable the high beams to actually be on and to go into that auto high beam mode. 3 is the horn, right where the Tesla logo is. 4 is the drive stalk, traffic aware cruise control, and auto steer. 5 is your touchscreen, which is pretty much where everything's going to be controlled from. 6 is your driver dome light. And this is a lot of these things can also be controlled in a way. I have my dome light and passenger dome light, I think all the lights off. Actually, I have them all turned off. I went to a drive-in a couple months ago, turned them all off, and I realized I was like, it's actually nice to just leave these off. But you could do a lot in the settings with those. 7 is the cabin camera, and I believe only the 3 and the Y have this today. This is not something currently used or accessible by the owner, but this is designed for when the robotaxi fleet is enabled, and this is a way to almost like I wouldn't use the word like an insurance, but almost as an insurance to make sure that nothing goes wrong, or if something does go wrong, you have that recorded for whatever purposes you may need to have it recorded for. 8 is your hazard warning flashers. Those are at the top. I believe every car, at least this is I believe US law only, but you have to have a physical button for your hazard lights. So that's located right above where the rearview mirror is. 9, passenger dome light, right across from where the driver dome light is. Your 10 is the climate control vent. And we'll get into this, I believe, in a little bit, but you don't have to toggle anything on the vent. This is all done directly through the touchscreen. I'll add in here too, there's a couple other interesting things. There's a company called, there's no affiliation, by the way, but there's a company called Scent Wedge, which has, I guess, air fresheners. You could call it an air freshener, and it just wedges right in where the air vent is, and super out of sight. I think it's made out of wood. Pretty cool. Haven't had those yet, but I got to get one of those. Pretty nice. 11 is your power window switches. And 12, I want to talk a little bit about this one in some detail, but 12 is the manual door release. Basically, you have this on the passenger side as well, but you want to make sure that you're not using this if you don't have to. This is really meant for an emergency, and I think there's a little bit more detail later on. But this is if the car loses power, if something's wrong with the button. This is a way where you could still get out of the car, but this is more of a manual override than using the electronic system that's designed to open the door. I would also recommend, if you have new passengers get into your car, tell them, because they're going to look for a handle typically. They don't look for a button to get out of a car. Let them know, say, hey, do not pull that lever over there. This, like I said, I can go into more detail, but it could mess with the alignment. It could mess with some of the trim pieces. So you really want to save that or only use that in an emergency situation. Okay, number 13 is the left scroll wheel button. I've had my the December 7th actually marked 2 years of having my Model 3. It's been a crazy, amazing, great 2 years. I still forget which one controls what all the time, as far as volume, or if you're on the highway, you have traffic aware cruise control or autopilot enabled to make it go fast. I think left is, once again, I always mess this up, so sorry. But you control your volume through here. You can control how close you are to the car in front of you. I think your left is going to be for adjusting speed while you're in autopilot or traffic aware cruise control, and your right button is for your volume, for getting to the next track. So yeah, those are your buttons, your scroll wheel buttons. 16 is pointing, and this is actually funny because it's already all updated, but 16 is your center console, and this was just recently updated maybe a month, 2 months ago. So a little bit different looking, but mostly the same. But now, well, actually quite a bit different looking. So well, I guess we'll have to change that for the future. And then 17 is your glove box, and there is no handle or lever to open this. This is done directly through the touchscreen, and I believe it is at the bottom left. I think the button's always there, or no, I think you have to press the driving button, which is a little car, and then the glove box button, if I remember correctly. So there's quite a bit in there. Yeah. All right, so now this is the touchscreen overview. I'll kind of leave a second for you to see that. So one of the things that a good way of realizing how the touchscreen setup is divided on the left, or the left side, your car status, I would say, yeah, this is pretty much section one, the car status area. What you can imagine that is almost like what would be directly in front of your wheel on either the Model S, the X, or on just about every other car on the road, right? Your speedometer, if you're in park, drive, neutral, obviously no tachometer, or I think that's the name of the RPM meter. Yeah, but so front screen is pretty much moved over directly to the left of your touchscreen. On the bottom left, number 2 is cars. So this is where you display certain information such as incoming calls, seatbelt reminders, current state of the wipers, and you could also change the wiper settings by clicking on the wiper icon. Sometimes the cars all have automatic wipers. So if it detects that rain is coming down, it will turn on the wipers. There's been a couple times where it's not coming down that hard and I just don't want the wipers on. You can click on that button and just turn it off. Won't go on. Also very important, I actually didn't write this down, but very important to note, you will want to do that if you're going through a car wash, an automatic car wash. Make sure that you have your wipers turned off. Could potentially do damage if you have, I mean, you should probably just do a no touch wash anyway, but yeah. Okay, so 3 are your controls. This is where you're going to access all of your driver settings. Everything is in here. This could probably be an hour-and-a-half presentation just on 3, but that's where you're going to access all of your controls and deep settings. 4 is your media player. Click on that button, and this is where you'll bring up your phone. If you have, hopefully Tidal comes on soon. I know Elon mentioned that at Battery Day, but I'm waiting for Tidal still. But you'll get your Spotify. I think it's Stitcher. Is that what it is? Stitcher is what comes on them. So yeah, all of your media controls can be done directly through there. You could even change the equalizer, everything done directly through that music note button for the media player. 5 is your app launcher. This is if you want to get into some more settings, you want to check out your energy. If you're taking a trip, I believe that's where the trip planner is, under that section. Just seeing, pretty much your range over time and how many more miles you have left till you arrive at your destination. You can go to the web on there. And this is also, I believe, where you access all of the apps to get to your theater or to the arcade. Press the button for that, number 5, the app launcher, and that's where you get to all those. All right, on to 6. This is all of your climate controls. This is what I mentioned on a Model 3, on a Model Y. Most of you probably already know, but you do not control any vents manually, or in some ways you do. But you're going to use your touchscreen for all of those. I don't believe there's an image for that, but once again, you just press on the fan icon and you could adjust the direction of where the air is coming. Pretty nice to have. You also have your seat heaters over there as well. And if you have the, I think only the standard range plus doesn't have it. So yeah, but if you have the rear heated seats, you could also access those by going into the fan icon and turning them on from there. I believe it'll open that up and there'll be a section below it on the bottom, shows 3 bacon strips is what it looks like. And that's where you would access that. Okay, on to 7. This is another kind of, I think Mitch used the word redundancy. There's so much redundancy built into Teslas. It's amazing. But if you wanted to change the volume, and this is, I think I found it to be very useful for my passenger. If you have someone in the car next to you, they say, hey, it's too loud. Oh, go ahead. You could just lower it right there. So nice to have. You also have your scroll wheel. So yeah, and I believe you could even use the, I guess, I don't know what you'd call it. By pushing the right button in, you can access the commands. I think it's the right button to access the commands. You could even tell it right from there. You could say, raise the temperature to 70 degrees, turn on the driver heated seat to, level 3. And you could turn down the volume from there as well. So yeah, on to 8, which is your navigation. This is, yeah, more or less where you're going to see your trip that's going on. This is always there. If you have the premium connectivity package, you'll notice on this would be kind of the view of like the standard maps. But if you have the premium connectivity, you can enable a satellite view, which is pretty nice to have. Sometimes you just choose to go back and forth, but nice to have that option. You also have the street light looking button. That's meant to just show you where there's a lot of traffic going on. So if you know the area well, you could just say, okay, I'm not going down that street. I'll take my own route and make my own plan. Beneath that one, there is a little charging icon or a little lightning bolt with a circle around it. That's going to bring up, I believe, if I remember correctly, that's going to bring up all of the nearby supercharger locations. And I believe, if I'm correct, I believe it also shows you the level 2s, which would be your destination chargers. And we'll talk about that later. And also note the airbag status symbol displays in the top right corner of the touchscreen only when the vehicle is powered on, ready to drive, and the airbag is turned off. All right. So for driving, your Tesla is always ready to go. This is something that, I don't know, more normal way to say this trips out a lot of new owners. They aren't used to getting into a car that is always on. What do I have to do? No, it's always on. Unless your batteries are completely depleted, this thing is always on. So all you ever have to do, put your seatbelt on, put it into drive, you're good to go. And we'll get into keys later and how that all happens. But yeah, so to put your car into park, on the drive stalk, there's a little button all the way at the very end, little silver button. Just push that in and you are in park. I believe, I don't know if it's on here, but another thing to note, if you want to enable your emergency braking, you can hold that button in a little bit longer. And there should be a little red icon, I think, that'll pop up, and that'll let you know that your emergency braking is enabled. For your climate control, kind of talked about this before, but tap the fan icon, and that's where you can adjust where the air is blowing. You could pinch apart, and you could kind of instead of one direct stream, you could have 2 separate ones, change the temperature, change the air speed. Really nice to have. And one of the things that I think is like the coolest thing about the Model 3 and the Model Y, at least with the HVAC, you could have it blow directly through the steering wheel. I don't think there's any other car that has an air vent that can do that, as far as I can know. But really nice too in the wintertime. If your hands are cold, you could have it blow right there. Really, really nice to have. Also note that the rear vents are controlled manually. There's it's right behind the center console, right in the back. 2 little vents. I think it's the same on the Y, but 2 little vents that you can control. Yep. And this is the icon. If we were to go back a slide, this is, I think, 1 slide or 2 slides. This is the door open button. So opening your doors, to open the doors when sitting inside, press the button located on the top of the interior door handle. The front doors are also equipped with the manual release, and we kind of talked about that. But this is where it's a little bit more detail. Don't use that unless it's an emergency, and try to always remember to tell your at least first-time guests in your car to always use the electronic button. One other thing to note before we move on, there isn't at least an obvious manual door release for the rear of the Model 3 and Model Y, as far as I know. It might be hidden, but yeah, so only the front doors have that.
Actually, on Model Ys, there is one. It's hard to find, but Model Y does have a door release.
Okay.
Model 3 does not have a rear door release.
Gotcha. Okay, I was gonna say, I didn't know if they changed that on the Y. Okay, so
they changed it on the Y.
Gotcha.
I I don't have it in front of me to remember where it is, but it's a little bit hidden, and it's there.
Gotcha. Thanks for
It's
that.
under the rubberized mat in the door holder at the bottom. So you lift up the rubberized mat, and then there's a little flap.
Gotcha. Good to know. Make sure.
Yep, that's it. Somebody showed me and it was like somewhere hidden, but yes, it's there.
All right, so moving on to keys. My favorite preferred way to use to get into the car, out, all that is always using the phone key. And this will work with just about any phone, any smartphone you have. I mean, it could be like a $30 smartphone. It will still, as long as you could download the Tesla app, you could still get in and use all the features. So using your phone is the most convenient way. It really is true. Using your phone is the most convenient way to access your Model 3 or Model Y. As you approach, your phone's Bluetooth signal is detected and the doors will unlock for you. Press and hold the door handle and you're in. One thing I want to add, and key card is next, but I hate wallets. This is not an ad for Ridge wallets or anything like that. I hate wallets. What I use is I never carry a wallet around anywhere. I use my phone for credit card, for everything. And I have a little wallet case, and inside the wallet case, the first thing, it's a little beat up because I've had this card in here for about 2 years, but I actually have my Tesla key card. And I suggest that if you are going to rely mostly on your phone as your key, always bring, this is the card, Tesla key card. I've lost a couple letters over the last 2 years. I think I only have my T left. But I believe every new Tesla comes with 2 of the key cards, at least the Model 3 and the Model Y comes with 2 of these. Haven't used the other one yet, but I always keep this with me at all times. I recommend any Model 3 or Model Y owner does. Yeah, just sometimes your phone battery dies. There's an issue with the Bluetooth, something along those lines. Just good to have. Is that? I don't know what's on there. Yeah. So, okay, so onto the key card. So Tesla provides you, there's 2 keys designed to fit into your wallet. Model 3 and Model Y read key cards only when placed within very close proximity, about an inch or 2. And this is all on the B pillar, right next to the B pillar camera. Right below that, that is where you will put this. And I don't know if it's on here, but this is also what you would want to, it shows a little icon, if you could see. Right by the B pillar, right under the camera is where you'll put this. This is also what you'll use if you have a valet driver, so you can keep your glove box closed, your trunk, your front, or at least your frunk. And yeah, so always good to have your key card on you. And the last one is your key fob. So this comes with the Model S and the Model X, but this is an accessory item if you have a Model 3 or Model Y. Really cool to have. I don't, but maybe someday. So to open the front trunk, you would double click right where the front trunk is on the key fob, and that will open up the front trunk. If you want to lock or unlock all the doors, single click to lock on the doors, and that will close all the trunks. So if you want to lock it, single click on the door, and that will lock it. Double click, and that will unlock the doors and the trunk. To open the trunk, double click on the rear, hold it down for 2 seconds, and that'll actually open up the charge port. I feel like there was one more thing. I don't know if it's at another point, but I want to bring it up now just in case. Yeah.
Hey, buddy, it's Anthony.
Hey, Anthony.
Good to see you. You're
You
doing
too.
great.
Thanks.
So you mind if I share a story about keys and key cards? I think
Sure,
any
go for
new
it.
owner would love it, or
Go
any
for it.
old owner would love it. So I was at the drive-in during the summer, and my cell phone died. Uh-oh. I also didn't have the key card with me. Double uh-oh. And I ended up having to ask the movie people, the owners of the drive-in, to let me into the booth to find the USB cord to let my phone charge for a little bit off of whatever they had in there. So it's kind of funny, like, to have a car with no keys and then lock yourself out of being able to actually drive the car.
Yes. There actually, Anthony, you made me realize one of the other things, and I believe you can do this. Now, if your phone's dead, you would have to borrow someone else's phone.
Yes.
I've never used this process, but if you have to do this, say for some reason I have one of our members here in New York, right by me, a good friend Joe. He had his phone in his car, in his Model 3, and I think it went into like a restart mode while it was in the car. He shut the door, and somehow the car locked, and his phone was in there in restart mode, and he couldn't get to his phone, and the doors were locked. His wallet was in there. But you are able to call Tesla's, I think, roadside assistance, and they could manually from their headquarters unlock your car and let you in. There's security components that you have to go through to have that done, but it's great to have as a fallback if you ever need to. Yeah, good story, Anthony. That was, I think I remember that one. All right. So once again, now a little deep dive. I don't know why there is, I don't know if you could see that too. It looks like there's like pen mark on the screen. I don't know if I did that. I've never used any paint things on here. I don't know if that's showing up in here. Sorry if that's there. I don't know how to get rid of that. If William or anyone else, if you know how to get rid of that, just let me know. I don't know if I accidentally pressed, let me see, clear all. Okay, that worked. Clear all drawings. We're good. Okay, let me see if I could press. Sorry about that. So your Tesla app, this is directly on your phone. Like I said, it could be, $999 iPhone Pro Max, or it could be like a $30 phone that you pick up at the store. As long as you have smartphone capabilities, iOS or Android, you are able to download the app and use the features in there. So yeah, I'll go ahead and go through some of the features that you could use while using the app. So check the charging progress in real time and start or stop charging. I've actually used this feature a couple of times while supercharging. Super quick story why. If you leave your Tesla charging for too long, you could incur charging fees by just having your car there after it's charged, but also you just don't want to do that because not courteous to other Tesla owners. But say you think you might only need 65 or 70%, but you're actually inside the mall, you're buying something and you're like, I'm not going to make it back into my car by the time it's done charging, or by the time it meets that 80% or 70%. You could go in there, and this is on the third image, you could actually change where you want it to fill up to as far as how much energy is in there. So really, really nice option that you could change that as you're there. Yeah. So you could heat or cool your car even before driving. And like it mentions in the garage, this is underrated feature, especially for those of us in the North, but even in places, in the South, down in Florida. My sister's down there in Fort Lauderdale, and that garage gets very hot, very, very hot in the summer. And she has a newborn. She has a 2-year-old. So she doesn't have a Tesla yet. I really tried for a very long time. Tried to get her to get a Tesla. She didn't get one, but she knows too. Once again, she's gotten in the car. She's like, oh, it's so hot in here. If you had a Tesla, you could have pre-cooled the car before you got in it, and really nice to have. You could lock or unlock your car from afar. Once again, there's a lot of underappreciated, underrated features in the Tesla app. If you're in New York, or if you're in Florida, your car's in New York, and something's in the front, and you're basically, you could ask one of your friends, family, whoever, to go to your car. You could unlock the car, open the front from Florida, and it will open that up there, and they could retrieve what's ever in there. Pretty cool feature to have. Locate your vehicle with directions or track its movement. Won't go into that, but yeah, if you need to keep an eye on someone, it's an option. And you could also, I've actually used this one before. I brought my car for an alignment at Firestone, and just to see, the guy said, oh, I got to take your car out for, make sure everything's good. I said, okay, that's the procedure, go for it. I go and I look on the app just to see what's going on. And he went a lot faster than what the speed limit was in that area. So told him he had a good time with the car, and he was like, So there's even a feature like that is good to have. Just yeah. Another point that's pretty cool too is you could send an address. So if you're taking a trip, you can go on your Google Maps. I use Google Maps. I haven't used other ones to do this, but possibly even like Waze or some of the other ones, where you could go on there, find your destination, and have it send the directions to your car. So you're getting ready to take a long trip, like I said, I'm going out to Rochester tomorrow, and I could automatically have it send the location to my car. I get in and everything's ready to go. Really nice feature to have. So maybe you're having your coffee, you're just sitting there waiting, type in the address, have it send through Google Maps, share it to Tesla, and you're in your car ready to go. A couple other features, I haven't ever used these too often, but you can allow the passengers to quickly control the media through there. Other ones, flash the light or honk the horn through the app to find your car. Good for trolling people as well. If someone's too close to your car and you want them to back off, nice to have. Or if you actually need to locate your car, good as well. Now, this is where you're actually going to use something like Smart Summon or Summon. So summon your vehicle out of your garage or tight parking space for vehicles with the full self-driving capability. There's been a couple cases where this has actually been necessary. Once again, here in New York, a lot of snow in the winter, not a lot, but a good amount of snow in the winter time. And there's been times where there's just huge puddles that are by my car by the time I get back out, or a ton of snow that's all slushy. And I've actually used just the summon features, regular forward or backward summon feature to move it slightly out. Really nice to have. And this is also where you could use your smart summon feature as well. If you look on the first picture towards the bottom, right above where it says schedule service, that's where you could access summon. Great point too. This is, I don't even know if this was originally in the app maybe 2 years ago, but you could do all of your service scheduling directly through the app. So say there's a squeak with the car, you can do that. If there's actually, I haven't had too many issues with my car, luckily, over the last 2 years, nothing too bad. But I believe even if you body damage, I think that's the kind of stuff that you could do through the app. If I'm not totally correct on that, feel free to let me know. I haven't had to use it, thankfully, too much. Next one is just engage with your Powerwall. I don't have the Powerwall. That's if you have home storage through Tesla. I have a buddy who actually has Solar City solar panels on his house, but he has a Tesla app to manage it and check it all out. I guess this was before the collaboration through those two. But yeah, so if you have the energy storage, if you have the solar, you could check this all through the Tesla app. Let's see. Okay. All right, I'm going to take a pause here and we'll go through any questions. Let me see. William, if there's anything that I missed, please feel free to facilitate as well. Let's see if there's any questions. Okay, Ken asks if the car, and some of these might already be answered. Let's see, actually, there's not too much here. Ken asks if a car is in the garage with the, oh, very good question. I think I already know where you're going with this. If the car is in the garage with the door closed and you are outside to summon the car, will the car know? So yeah, this is, oh God, I cannot tell you how amazing this is. So like I said, I don't carry keys. I don't carry a wallet. All I carry is my phone. So if I go out for a walk around the block, I don't bring my house keys. Very big gamble here. But you could go into your phone settings on the Tesla app, go to the summon section. See if I can pull that up for you real quick. Go over to the summon section. And right from there, super great feature. If you have HomeLink, you have to have HomeLink. I know, I don't know if the Model S and X come with it, but the Model 3 and Y I don't believe come with HomeLink anymore. But there'll be a little icon, looks like a house on the top. I don't know if that's going to come through clearly or not. But you can, so my car is charging right now, so I can't move it forward or backward. Another great feature, won't let you move it forward or backward while it's charging. But you can activate HomeLink, which will automatically open up the garage door. So you're outside, you just came back from a walk, whatever it might be, press that button, opens your garage door for you. But to answer your question, yeah, if your car is in the garage and you're either outside, you're inside, it will not crash into your garage door. I can't guarantee you that, but I've never had that happen before. It will automatically open up the garage door, and I've held the button down. I've tested this thing to see its capabilities. It won't move until that garage door is fully up. I don't know if it knows it's fully up, if it's just on if it's timed. But yeah, if you're using Summon to get it in and out of the garage, if it's in the garage, it will automatically activate HomeLink, knows the garage door is down, knows not to crash into it, activates HomeLink, and will pull itself out. Really, really cool feature. John says, Summon is handy at coin-op car wash bays that have mud or debris near your door. Is Summon feature available to all? Dev asked. So I think I talked about this before. So I think, and this stuff like this changes somewhat frequently, so I want to make sure I'm right on this. But I think Summon, whether it's just the basic Summon, which is forward and backward, or Smart Summon, is only available if you have the full self-driving package. If someone can let me know for sure on that.
It's available on navigation on Autopilot and above.
Okay, so as long as you have that enhanced Autopilot from back in the day or the full self-driving package today, you have Summon.
No.
No?
Well, yeah, I guess that would be true. Well, I have a 3 in addition to the S, and we have the enhanced Autopilot without full self-driving. So that does exist.
Gotcha.
Depending upon, I guess, on maybe when that 3, our 3 was in 18. So maybe the new ones don't. I don't know. Maybe William can answer that or clarify.
Okay.
And just to be clear for everybody, so there's no misunderstandings, HomeLink is not standard on a Model 3 or a Model Y. So
Correct.
it would not open the garage door without the HomeLink, as he said.
Correct. Yeah. And if you're wondering if you recently did get your Model 3 or Model Y, or you have it on order, and you want HomeLink, that is something you will order directly through the store. It'll come to your house, apartment, condo, wherever you live, in the package, and then you will schedule an appointment directly through the Tesla app if you want to, and then they will install it. They could either do that through a mobile ranger at wherever you live, or you could schedule an appointment and they could do it in person. If you could get that to be scheduled where you live, they could, I believe they will set up everything for you as far as actually pairing it with the garage door, which is pretty nice to have. Let's see if there's anything else here.
May I just chime in real quick about using Summon for people? This is the Summon app. I don't know if you can see it right here. It shows a condo and a garage. Some people get confused because there's a command that says go to Target or come to me. Those are two options. The way you do it is there's a little crosshair. You click the little crosshair and that will switch between go to Target or come to me. Makes a big difference when you're using the app to summon a vehicle.
Yep. Yeah, I think, John, your connection's coming through a little choppy. I don't know if I think we were kind of able to see it, but yeah, either the go to Target or the, I can't use mine right now because it's plugged in, so it won't bring it up. But yeah, so you could either have it smart summon where just hold down the button, come to you, or go to Target, like John said. Thanks, John. All right, I don't see any other questions in the chat unless I missed anything, but any other questions before we move on to our last section, which is charging? All right, I think we'll go ahead and get back to it. All righty. Okay, so yeah, this is our last, sorry about that. Okay, last section for the new owners workshop, which is charging. We did the A, the B, we're on to the C. So we're gonna talk about charging at home, supercharging, and destination charging. As I mentioned, right now my car is charging. I'll try not to bounce around too much, but my car is charging at home. I'm just using a basic wall outlet, like you would plug your phone into, your laptop into, nothing fancy. That's an option if you want to, but you're only gonna get about 5 miles an hour. So for every hour that your car is plugged in, you're looking at about 5 miles added. There are other options if you have a NEMA 1450 adapter, which is typically, at least here in the States, that's what you're using for a high energy usage, like a drying machine, a dishwasher might use it, possibly some microwaves. And you could charge, I want to say about 28 miles an hour with that. And the adapter is only, I want to say like $35 at most. It's just a matter if you actually have that outlet where you live, or if you need to get an electrician to install that for you. So I'll go ahead and do what we did before with the basics, which is I'll read through on the right, and I'll let you kind of check out on the left what's happening. So 1 is your charge status. Green equals charging, black equals done charging. 2 is your time charge remaining. Self-explanatory, how much more time you have to wait till your car is charged. 3 is to your toggle for the charging menu. And if I remember correctly, I use most of these features every day, but I don't do as much driving now in 2020. So hoping that changes. But as soon as you press 3, that will bring up what you see that's covering the navigation section. That is we're going to do a lot of your interface for charging if you need to make any changes to your settings. 5 is the current, or charge current, charge current. This is pretty nice. You could manually adjust this depending if you're using a Tesla mobile connector or a wall connector. From what I know, I believe I've tried it before, you cannot change that if you are supercharging. If you're supercharging, the charge current is what the charge current is. You do not get to change that. But if you're using a home charger, if you're using a destination charger, if you're using a third-party charger, this is something you could change. And you might ask, why do I ever need to do that? I'd want it to go as fast as it can, right? Most of the time, that's probably the case. I go to a gym that's 7 minutes from me, 5 minutes from where I live, right? And they have a ChargePoint charger, which is a third-party charging network. There's been a couple times where, similar to what I mentioned back about the supercharging, where you're like, I'm not going to make it back to my car just yet. You could actually lower, or if you know that you're going to be there for a while, you could change the charge current. So instead of taking an hour to charge, you could kind of prolong it and meet the entire time that you're there. This could also be, oh, sorry.
That's a great idea. I like that. But now for me, I have a one in my garage that I found, you know, a 220 outlet. Unfortunately, if I let the amperage go to my 3 focuses on 32 right away, if I let that happen, it'll trip. I have to lower it to 24 amps, which I believe is 80% or something like that. I read something about 80% of the load. And it only has a 30 amp breaker on it.
Gotcha.
So if I lower it, that's the only way it won't trip. So that's what I've been doing for 2 years, and it's worked out.
Interesting. So yeah, so more than one purpose to your charge current.
Yeah, to being able to change that amperage load.
Gotcha. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to 6 is your scheduled departure. Now, back in the day when I actually used to travel to an office, this was something that was pretty helpful. Today, you know, lucky enough to be able to work from home, and I haven't used scheduled departure. I thought about using it for tomorrow. Like I said, taking the trip out to Rochester tomorrow, out to Buffalo. We have an event this week, and I can talk about that at the end. But I thought about using scheduled departure. I don't really need to use it, but this is great if you're if you have a typical job where you know that you're leaving the house around 8 o'clock in the morning. This will charge your car up. It will use its, I guess, you know, depending on how much battery is in there, the timing when you're, you know, scheduling your departure for, this will set it to, so say you want to charge to 90%, this will get you to your 90% by your scheduled departure time. And I believe this will also precondition the car too. If I remember correctly, this will precondition the car. So turn the heat on, heated seats, get you ready for your drive. 7 is the current/last session, right on the bottom right. Current session, 32 cents. So if you are charging your car at a supercharger, this won't do it, at least not yet with anything else out there. But if you're charging at a supercharger, this will give you kind of almost like a taxi when constantly those rates are going up as you're being driven around. It will just show you, or I guess if going back to gas cars, but same thing. If you had you're fueling your car, you see just the tickers going up constantly. Same thing over here, just letting you know how much your bill is going to come out to. Yep, and this will also tell you what your last session was. So you went to a supercharger, you were there for, I don't know, 20 minutes, whatever, $12, just to kind of let you know what your last trip was. And 8 is your current session. This is kind of what I said. If you want to bring this up, I believe you press 3, or this might even automatically pop up once you start your charging. Current session status, including the charge current, speed, as well as the number of miles added to the vehicle, range since began charging. Really cool to have. A couple of us super geeky nerd people will love to watch that miles per hour, the kilowatts as it goes up, especially if you're using a version 3 charger. Pretty cool to see that break 1,000 miles an hour. So yeah.
Can I offer something?
Sure.
Anthony spoke about 80%. What the 80% is, that's constant power. The Tesla charger home is rated for 60 amps, which is peak power, but it runs constantly at 48 amps. You never get this full, that's electricity, plain and simple. So it's not just Tesla, but anytime you have electricity, you have a peak power and a constant power. So you'll see on the screen, it says with the home charger, 48 amps. The breaker in the panel is rated 60 amps because that's the starting power, which drops to 48 amps for constant power. That's where that 8% came from.
Interesting. Actually, you just reminded me too, there's one other piece before we move on. And that is the setting the percentage of your charge. It's recommended by Tesla to keep your car charged between a minimum of 10%. I really don't think they want you going any lower than 10%. I know this changed a while back, but no more than 90 and no less than 10. Reason why, over a long time, that can do damage to the battery packs. So if you're taking a trip, like I said, taking a long trip, you could charge to 100%. By all means, go for 100%, but don't leave that charged at 100% for much longer than you really needed to. You're leaving at 1 o'clock, the car's charged at 12:50. Get ready to ship on out. Just once again, you're keeping your car for as long as you can. You want those batteries to be as healthy as they can be. Keep it somewhere, probably I'd recommend between probably like 30, or not 30, probably like 50 and 80 if possible. And at least above 30 is what I know. But there's probably a lot of science that goes into this. I don't know all that, but 80% if you can, 90, just no more than 90.
So to follow up on that or to clarify on that as well. You can actually, when you are charging your car, you have the ability. So to use his example, if you're going to be leaving at noon, you have the ability to charge it starting immediately. You have the ability to set it to charge at a later time, maybe when the utility charges are less for your electricity. You also have the ability to set it so that it's charged and ready to go when you want to leave. So it'll calculate how much time it's going to take and know when to turn on so that it's at your 100% at noon when you're ready to leave, so that you don't have to worry about it sitting there charged.
Gotcha. Okay, so once again, this is, let's see. This is really, once again, targeted more towards the 3 and the Y, but looking at the charge port, it's going to be a little bit different on those vehicles. So the charge port is located on the left side of all Tesla vehicles. That is consistent. Behind a door, there is a part of the rear taillight. Once again, looking at the Model 3, the Model Y, behind the rear taillight. Before charging, park your Tesla to ensure that the charge cable easily reaches the charge port. There's always a couple times where you don't do the calculations correctly. You might need to back up a little bit more, whatever you might have to do. So yeah, make sure that the cable is going to be long enough. So now to actually opening up the door, there's once again so many redundancies to this. On the touchscreen, you can use the app launcher to open up the charging app, then open up the charge port directly on there. On the car status on the touchscreen, tap the charging icon, opens up the charge port. On cards area, which was that on the bottom left, there is a button there. You can tap the charging icon, then select the open charge port. On the key fob accessory, this is for the Model 3 and Y sold separately, hold down on the rear trunk button for 1 to 2 seconds. There is another way that you open the charge port. So many redundancies, but the final way I think is the coolest. It's like some Harry Potter stuff. Hold down or just press the circle on the charging cable, and that will open up your charge port. Same thing whether it's at home, destination charger, at a supercharger, opens up the charge port. Very cool. There's one other thing as we're looking at the charging equipment that I want to point out, which I think was pretty genius design from Tesla. So like I said, I just use a regular wall outlet. You could upgrade and get an adapter for NEMA 1450. If you look at the mobile connector, the one on the right, that adapter goes directly where you see that I believe that's a NEMA 1450 in there right now. You would pull that out and there's that little, I don't know if that's an amplifier. I don't know all the specificities on that, but that will disconnect from there. And what's really cool about this is when you're charging your car, that I guess the part where you plug it in is locked into the vehicle. And so if you're using this at an apartment complex, at condo, you're at a house and the car is outside charging, they won't be able to steal the entire, if someone wants to steal your mobile connector, all they'll walk away with is potentially just the adapter piece. So nice to have where the meat of it is safe and secure, which is the part that actually plugs into your car, and I think it's an amplifier of sorts. So charging equipment designed specifically to charge your Model 3 and Model Y is available from Tesla. Tesla wall connector, which installs into your garage. You can put this in your garage. You can put it outside your garage. You can put it on a shed. Anywhere that I guess certified electrician says this is a good spot for it. And that's going to be the fastest way to charge at home. I won't say you don't need it, but your mobile, at least depending on which region you're in, every Tesla comes with a mobile connector. And if you have something like a NEMA 1450, like I said, you're charging at 28 miles an hour. If you could charge your car overnight at home, you're going to be more than fine with that. But for those who maybe you need to take a quick trip home, want to charge your car, need as fast of a charge as possible, you're going to want to upgrade and get the wall connector through Tesla. And then the last part on charging, and there's many different adapters out there, but at least here in the States, you will receive a J1772 adapter. And I use this thing a couple times a week. As I mentioned, my gym, about 5 minutes away from here, they have a charge point charger, free to use. So I get basically free electricity for going to the gym. It's a great incentive to get out and go. But you will plug this on the receiving end or the providing end from the charger, and that will plug into your Tesla, and that will lock in. Once again, if your car is locked, that J1772 adapter is locked into your car, and no one will be able to take that out. The thing is, though, they could still remove the charging cable, the J1772 cable that actually plugs into the adapter. So something to consider. compared to a wall connector or mobile connector, that is in there to say. Same thing with a supercharger, that's locked into the car. Yeah. And there's also a CHAdeMO adapter, which you could purchase. Our club has it where you could rent it if you're going on a trip and you don't want to spend the money on the charger. You could rent that through the club. I think a couple other clubs that are out there have that. They provide those. So pretty great thing to have. You most likely won't use that too often. Supercharger network is massive, but good to have just in case.
One comment on the screen. It says to plug the cable into the adapter, then the adapter into the car. I'm reading the instructions on the adapter from Tesla. It says plug the adapter into the car, then plug the cable into the adapter. It says it right on the adapter.
I guess we'll have to fix the slide. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah,
real quick, I think that there is just a difference of like who wrote the technical article on how it should be done, and then who wrote the sticker that goes on the adapter.
So not a safety measure, William?
Sorry, say that again.
Is any safety precautions about that, or is it just a
no?
preference?
The way that I know most people do this is they attach the adapter to the actual charge cable first, and then they plug it into the car. So it like you can go either way. It's not really going to matter. It's just an adapter.
Gotcha. I'll add, kind of like William said, for myself, when I use the J1772 adapter, or J1772 adapter, I think I said that correctly. I'll plug it typically into the cable itself first before plugging it into the car. Sometimes it could just be a little difficult to line everything up correctly with the adapter. With that, just easier once you have the cable in your hand to just put it right in, slap it in the car, good to go. All right, so we're gonna take a look at the charge port lights. I believe on the Model S and X, there's a ring around the charge port. On the Model 3 and Y, there's actually a little Tesla icon, and there's actually purposes to having the light and the lights that come up. So this is a good way to look at what each of those mean. So if that light is white, that means the charge port door is open, your car is ready to charge, but the connector is not yet inserted, or the latch is released and the connector is ready to be removed. So if you are clicking the button, if you have a Tesla device that you're charging with, you click on the button, hold it, that will light white, and that means it's safe to remove. Same thing, you're using third party, click on the button to release, that'll show that it's white, safe to remove. Blue means that your car detects a connector has been charged, or has been plugged in, sorry. Blinking blue means that your car is currently communicating with the connector. Some information is being transferred, figuring out maybe which your car is, just making sure everything connects. So yeah, blinking blue means that they're talking with each other and that it's most likely going to start charging very soon. A blinking green means that the charging is in progress, and as your car approaches a full charge, the frequency of the blinking slows. I've never sat by my car long enough to watch that occur, but pretty cool to know. A solid green means that your charging is complete. A solid amber, the connector is not fully plugged in. This amber and red means pay attention, pretty much. If you see these, get ready to do something. So a solid amber, the connector is not fully plugged in, realign the connector to the charge port and insert fully. A blinking amber, your car is charging at a reduced current, AC charging only. Now red is there's a fault, there's something wrong. Pretty much you're not charging. Check the instrument panel or the touchscreen for a fault message. Sometimes this can be due to the charging equipment. Sometimes this could be something with the vehicle. If this is persistent, or depending, I guess, on the message that pops up, you can contact Tesla's roadside assistance. Really depends on the issue itself. See if you could diagnose it. If you're at a supercharger, something like a supercharger, try moving over a stall. Could just be the supercharger is not working correctly. But yeah, so red light, run some diagnostics and see if you could figure it out. All right, so on to supercharging. There are over 2,000 supercharging stations with over 20,000 superchargers. Pretty amazing. One of my first trips to, sound like I'm like a kid in a candy shop. One of my first trips to a Tesla store, long time back, and they had this screen up, and it showed all the supercharger locations, and it was very sparse at the time, super sparse. And I remember the sales associate saying, he's like, yeah, in the future you'll be able to get from one side of the country to the other using the superchargers. And I was like, whoa. Now today you wouldn't, there might, yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, you could pretty much, I think you can get just about literally any location you want using the superchargers. There might be a couple of empty spots in like North Dakota, Midwest, where maybe the charging network isn't as strong. but you're taking a trip most likely anywhere, you're good to go. William, did you have anything to add?
No.
Okay.
No, it's good to go. Well, so to actually utilize the Supercharger network, all of it's built into the navigation pane on your center display, touch screen, sorry. And yeah, like literally you say, take me to New York. I'm sitting here in San Francisco. Take me to New York. And it's going to find the appropriate route and it'll take you through all the Superchargers. So it's super, super basic, super easy to use. And it's something to really take advantage of and take for granted. So
yeah, I think to add to what William's saying, like I said, not to keep repeating the same thing, but taking the trip out tomorrow, going all the way out to Buffalo by Saturday, going to see John. Woohoo! So it's a long trip, and I can make it to Rochester on a full charge if all conditions are fine. But I wouldn't be able to make it to Buffalo. So my plan is, it'll lay at the route, and I've already been there before, but there's a supercharger in Liverpool, right by Syracuse, and it will be along the map. I'll see it. I could just navigate right to that, charge up there for a while. And the great thing about supercharging, and there's a lot to this, and this is really for new owners, so we don't have to go through all the details. But it will, you don't have to charge to 100%. Every time you're using a supercharger, a destination charger, you're taking a trip, most of the time you only probably have to charge to about 70% to really reach that next point. One last point on the supercharging, it will taper off once you get to about, it tapers off, very soon after the beginning. You'll hit that 1,000 miles an hour if you have a car with the newer cells in it. But about 70, maybe 80%, you're going to start to see it really tapering off as far as the charge rate. And you don't need to stick around and wait for that to go to 90, 100. Most of the time, you're good to go on to your next place and charge up at your final location. So things to consider with supercharging. Destination charging. So these are really cool. These are the new destination chargers.
Before you move into destination, just one comment to add. When you're out, let's say you're out of town and you're staying somewhere and therefore you're relying upon the supercharger, and you may very quickly figure out where it is and where you need to go to, particularly in the winter, or if you're in a hot climate, you want to make sure you go ahead, don't just use your memory and drive there, go ahead and tell the car that you're going to the supercharger so that it can precondition the battery to optimize, so it's going to get you in and out faster, so that you're sitting at that charger less time.
Good point. Yeah, that's another cool thing that came through updates was, your car will precondition the battery so that it'll charge faster. Really nice to have. So thanks for the adding. Now, like I said, these are the newest destination chargers from Tesla. They're really beautiful in person. They remind me of Eva from WALL-E. If you've ever seen the Disney movie WALL-E, they look just like the character Eva. They're glass white, really pretty design. As far as I know, all destination chargers are free to use. They may be in a parking garage that you have to pay to be in. They may be, I went to a hotel one time and they had like a sleeve over the charger with like a leather sleeve with like a lock on it. And that was their way of saying this is for guests only. So, if it's private property, you could always ask a manager and say, hey, I'm taking a trip, stuff like that. But most of the time you see a destination charger, you're able to use it and there aren't any fees to actually use the charger. And these, once again, are your second fastest way as far as Tesla charging. Not your primary method, but great to have. It mentions like, at a hotel, restaurant, shopping centers, really great to have this. And if you are a small business owner, I'd highly recommend seeing if you can get these installed at one of your locations, because this has a very good chance to drive customers, clients over to your place. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I go over to a destination charger and I think I'm charging for free, and then I end up spending $20, $30, $40, $50 on some stuff I probably didn't need, but really nice to have. All right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. So if you have any questions, there's a couple ways that they can get answered. First way is through support. So whether you're new to Tesla or have been a customer for years, most questions can be answered by visiting tesla.com/support. Two other ways, which I think are, I wouldn't say better, but maybe better. You can go onto the Tesla forums, and this is where you're going to speak with other Tesla owners and get their opinions, their thoughts, their feedback, and really cool community based around that. And in addition to the community within the Tesla forums, you have the Tesla Owners Club program. On our website, on TOCNYS.org, we also have forums. I would say if you have a big question that might be, especially if it's super vague, go into Tesla forums directly from the Tesla website. Probably gonna get your question answered super quick on there. But if it's something maybe more specific to the state, or you want to talk with other members, our website might have it. Some other clubs have forums directly on their website, which is really great to have. And I believe that wraps up everything.